Oh, I found two emails that I forgot to read. They're from week two, maybe? Uh, if you've been following along, so far, I've been reading on Fridays today emails from my mom because I have yet to launch this podcast into the public. It's just, I have one audience member, and we've been testing this process. She's been emailing, and I've been reading them on Fridays, as I've promised. Anybody who emails me will get their emails read on Friday, at least initially. And I just found a couple that she sent that I totally forgot, so I will read them in a moment. Hello and welcome to My Daily Walk, the show where I, a Hollywood guy, walk around and talk about anything and everything except what I'm contractually bound to conceal. As a programming note, I will always mention the email address here up front, which is mydailywalk@thiswaytv.com. You can email me, and I will read it and probably read it on the show, into the digital record, as I like to say. But this programming note I need to remember to include. I have been mentioning the email address, but if you have a disagreement, if you take issue with anything I have to say, if you have a criticism, it doesn't matter how offensive it is. Of course, I'll have to edit certain language, but you will definitely be read. You will jump to the front of the line, and your emails will be read, and I may even address them if you have differences in some points of view that I have, which inevitably people will have. I mean, if you are listening, which you are listening. So I shouldn't even say if you are listening. But if you've listened thus far to all of them, inevitably there will be some points that you'll take issue with, especially, I imagine those who agree with the Christian worldview may take issue with some of the perspectives that I've presented. Perhaps I've ascribed to something that you might consider heretical. That's always exciting. What is heresy? Who determines heresy? Who's the authority in the Christian panoplia? Gosh, I shouldn't use a word that I'm not sure about, so panoplia, I'll look it up. But the entirety of Christian teaching and thought and understanding, there's plenty of disagreement, but there are essentials, things that anyone who purports to be a follower of teachings of Christ, certain essentials to be in the in group, to be considered in the in group, and that's kind of the dividing line and the point at which heresy is determined. But who's to determine that? Well, again, it's the consensus is the only way, and I think that's based on accurate interpretations of the text, which, I mean, I know I'm wading into a Pandora's box here, but the accurate, the correct, the proper interpretations of the text, it's not postmodern deconstruction. It's not subject to postmodernism, where there's no real meaning. It means what you want it to mean. How do you feel about it? Meditate on it, and whatever you feel is true is true. No, there's none of that. Every word written in the text was written by someone about something to someone. There is a correct interpretation of every word in those ancient texts, and there's the trick. Some of those meanings may never truly be well, definitively be determined, because some things are lost in history. But it's not the case where you cannot understand anything. In fact, I would argue that the vast majority of the text is understandable. I think I'm in a large group that would agree. I think the vast majority of biblical scholars, gosh, let me not even venture there. I'm spouting a bunch of stuff that's going to be disagreed with, and great, email me, I'll read it. Okay. So let's get to the emails that I totally forgot. Oh, I did forget one programming note. I do want to include this. Bear with me as we develop the format of this show. What is the show? If this is your first time listening, I'm a Hollywood guy. I am working on a very there's so many different words I could use, different adjectives I can use to describe the project that I'm working on. It's has a lot of potential. Let's just put it there. It's exciting. There's I'm actually surprised I haven't mentioned this on the show yet. The reaction that people have when I describe to them the details of what I'm working on. There is one unanimous reaction. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's a Hollywood person, if it's a high-level producer in Hollywood, or if it's a random friend of a friend that I met at a social setting where I disclosed bits and pieces. The unanimous response I get is this: whatever I can do to help. It's unanimous. I mean, those words, literally that phrase, I've heard over and over again. Not every person utters those words, but the sentiment is the same. But I have heard that exact expression multiple times. Whatever I can do to help. And this is not in a situation where I'm seeking help. It's just I'm socializing and chatting, and so perhaps every person I come into contact with that says that will have an opportunity to help with this project at some point. Many of them have helped. They were right. They weren't lying. They were being honest. So that was a little tangent, but I think it's important. This is Freeform Friday. The programming note I neglected. I want to, if this is your first time listening, what the show is me, Hollywood guy, documenting. Essentially, this is my personal extemporaneous journal. I've been keeping a written journal for quite a while, but this half-hour a day walk and talk of mine has supplanted much of the writing aspect. Now it's an audio digital record available for everyone. So if there are details that I can't disclose here, I will go back to my journal and jot them down, but my journal is not being visited by me nearly as often as it was prior to this. So you're getting a glimpse into what's going on in my head and my heart. And so I'm not just picking that name of a Hollywood guy because I think it'll be marketable and interesting to people. It's just the fact. It's a truth. And perhaps some people will be interested in following along with me on this journey, because that's exactly what it is. We're all on a journey, and this is mine. And if you want to be a part of it, this is the only way I could think of to include anybody who wants to. So, format of the show, it's a different topic every day. Well, each day of the week is a theme, and Mondays are a meditation, a spiritual, scriptural meditation on an ancient truth, text, an ancient text. Yeah, the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. I do have a verse from the Quran that I need to look it up exactly where it is, that I will meditate on. Perhaps I'll find some more. But truth should be believed wherever it is found. The Quran has truth in it. I know certain words. I was going to use a couple words. I don't know if I should self-edit because I don't know, YouTube and other platforms will, I don't know, monitor and I don't know. They have some formula that tracks certain words. So I was going to say I'll just say it. Hitler's propaganda minister in the Nazi regime, Goebbels, even he spoke truth. Well, here's a tangent. This is Freeform Friday. I'm going off, and that's the point. I hit record and I just start talking on Fridays. Let's get back to the Goebbels quote in a second here, and I'll get to the emails in a second. But let me run down the days of the week. Monday is a meditation, a spiritual meditation. Monday meditation. Tuesday is life lesson. Talk about things I've learned or experienced in my life. Wednesday is a topical, pick a topic. Thursday's Hollywood theme. Thursdays specifically, I specifically talk about things that I've experienced and learned in my tenure, in my experiences in Hollywood. And Friday today is Freeform Friday. I'll read emails and just babble on about whatever. All right, Goebbels. This is one when I was in college, one of the assignments in one of my classes, I don't know what class it was, but we were required to go to the Museum of Tolerance. It's a Holocaust museum in Los Angeles. I remember walking through, and in one of the exhibits there are quotes from different people, and I can't quote it verbatim, but it was from Goebbels, the propaganda minister. Basically, the press, the guy who's in charge of telling the people of Germany what's going on, screening what is disclosed, what is communicated, propaganda. Hey, there's propaganda happening all the time, everywhere. And if you're a nasty, evil regime like the Nazis, that's how you do it. You teach people lies. And the quote from Goebbels is roughly, if you repeat a lie often enough, it will be regarded as truth, or it will become the truth. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. And that is true. And that was Nazi propagandist speaking truth, and you should believe it, even though it comes from an awful person. So I guess this is relevant to today. People won't listen to some people because they hate the person, which means they are throwing out the message because of the messenger. Big problem. If you don't listen to the people you hate, if you don't listen to the people you disagree with, you won't know what they believe, and you won't be able to counter it. You won't be able to refute it. If you avoid the other side of every argument, you are, by definition, ignorant. You're only getting half the information. And, this is true in all walks of life. If you are taught one thing, and not even in a malicious way or a nefarious way, but if you're just taught one thing, you just assume it's true or believe it. As you grow up, you're taught something and grow up believing it, and then your life kind of gets unmoored when you encounter other points of view, and you get defensive because you've believed this thing your whole life and it's become a part of you, and it's just the nature of human existence. So the pursuit of knowledge is critical to a healthy mindset. All right, let's get to these emails. All right, so here's one. So this is in relation, from Mom, and the subject line is impulsivity. So I believe that was the second week. Tuesday of the second week, impulsivity, I talked about I was engaged one time, not to the woman I'm married to now, and I related that story. So that episode is called Impulsivity, and this is her response, her thoughts. You can be, quote, on the same page, end quote, but worlds apart. Even with all of the social cues we learn to interpret, we can be easily led astray. We don't really know what is in the mind of another person. It is only with the passage of time we learn and understand how God has directed our steps. He is the one who sees what is in front of us at all times. What to us is heartbreaking, to God is intended to be a faithful building moment. And she has another note here. I'm enjoying your Hollywood guy daily walks. Love, Mom. I want to reflect a little bit. It's almost uncanny how this ties into what I was just talking about. This was not planned. Especially Fridays. Every day I'm speaking extemporaneously, but especially on Fridays, I don't think ahead of what the topic is going to be or what subject matter. I open my mouth and words come out, and here we go. But I was just talking about information and what we believe and how we believe it, and we don't really know what is in the mind of another person. There are those in culture, or in our culture, that are pushing for the legal prohibition of words, prohibition of specific language, making certain words illegal to say, and if you restrict somebody's ability to say what they actually believe, how will you be able to find the bad players? If you restrict somebody from praising Nazis and Hitler, if you restrict somebody from saying those things out loud, they may hold them in their hearts. They will hold them in their hearts and realize, well, if I say it out loud, I won't be able to act. I'll be arrested and put in jail. And so I will lie. I will avoid those topics, and then I will, in my actions, act like a Nazi and a Hitler sympathizer. So the danger of restricting people from even getting together and rallying, and white supremacists, neo-Nazis having, barbecues and cookouts and chanting down with every other ethnicity, up with the pure race. That's social Darwinism right there. But if you restrict the ability of people to do that, you won't be able to find them and avoid them. That's the point of free speech. You got to let everybody say what they believe, and then in the public square, parse it out and determine what is the right thing and the wrong thing to believe. And that's the point of free speech. As much as it's difficult to hear people say some awful things and to be hurt and offended by it, that's the only thing that's going to keep us on the straight and narrow. It's the only thing that's going to help us hold one another accountable and live free. Bit of a tangent, but we don't know what's in other people's hearts. People are going to say, this is a tangent I like to go on. We all present ourselves differently in different scenarios, different circumstances. I have talked about this before. The words you speak are you. They're how you are perceived by other people. People only know a little bit about you in their limited interactions with you, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a fact. And some people are very intent on misrepresenting themselves So you can't trust that everyone you know is being straightforward with you. I'm not saying be paranoid and skeptical and not trusting of people. Generally, people are honest and forthright, but there are bad players in this world that are only have themselves in mind, their own advancement, and use language as a weapon. Words are a weapon. All right, let's go to the next email. There's one more. Wait, let's see how much time I have left. All right, we're doing good. The other email that I forgot to read prior it's in response to the episode titled Bloodlust. That's the subject line of this email. Bloodlust. Proverbs 11:27. Evil comes to him who searches for it. Ooh. I'm going to comment on that right now. Evil comes to him who searches for it. It's true. Those who seek out trouble find it. But why would you want it? Why would anybody want trouble? Let me just continue reading. In a fallen world, evil comes even when we're not searching for it. Yeah, good point. It boggles my mind to know people purposefully engage in acts and behaviors intended to summon the forces of darkness. I can only rationalize such behavior in terms of those same people being the spawn of Satan. My mother's a colorful writer. Spawn of Satan. Maybe I'll have an episode called Spawn of Satan. I like the... Well, let me keep reading. And again, we don't know what is in the heart, mind, and soul of another person. Referring back to your tease about, quote, the eye of God, end quote, in another previous episode, referring back to your tease about the eye of God and the eye is the window of the soul, when you look into the eyes of another person, what do you see? You can tell a lot about a person instantly when the eyes meet. I'm referring more to an encounter with a stranger here. I won't go off on a tangent, but you understand what I'm saying. Love, Mom. The eye is the window of the soul. And I do recall, and I don't remember exactly in what episode, I believe I talked about when you look at a person, you don't see them. You look at a person, you see their posture. Generally, you can tell their biological gender, their biological sex, just from body types. You're not seeing the person, you're seeing a piece, a glimpse, part of that person. But when you look into a person's eyes, it's a small window, but it's very, very revealing. And and I'm talking about even if you've never met a person. If you know a person, you know more of them, obviously. But if you've never met a person and you haven't heard that person speak, or maybe you don't even speak the same language, and so you have never heard what they feel about anything or what they believe about anything, but you look them in the eyes, there's a deep, deep well of information being disclosed. And that's, I would argue, probably why a lot of people avoid eye contact. I mean, some people avoid eye contact just out of nervousness or social insecurities. But some people avoid eye contact because they know there's a dark intent, perhaps, and know it can be disclosed. That window, that the eyes, the window is one way to put it. I have another word. So a window, you are looking across a threshold, that you are looking into another world. You are peering into a world that you are not in when you look through a window. Even if it's just you're inside the house and you're looking outside, you're on the inside of the house. So you're looking into another world. But the human eye is the direction of focus. That person is aiming their entire life's energy in a direction. And so for me, like, the eyes are like the laser beam. People, when they look in a direction, they also will, it's not just their eyes, but it's their focus. And I don't mean the retina and the lens of the eyeball focusing, but the mind, the intent, the passions. The eyes will betray where the energy of that person is focused. And a laser beam is either destructive or healing. Like a scalpel. A scalpel can do immense damage, but it is intended for a precise, very precise repair or corrective healing. And just as the power of life and death is in the tongue, that relates precisely to what I'm talking about. When you focus, when you look in a direction, when you aim all of your energies and attention in a direction, you are at all times either bringing life, as a scalpel is intended to, or you are wreaking havoc and destroying. So the window analogy is one thing as regarding seeing another person, but on the other side of that window is a powerful force doing one of two things, good or evil, in every person. And it depends upon the alignment of the heart. And I'm not talking about, you don't have to, I hope I have listeners that are not that sounds weird. I hope I have listeners who are not Christians. I would that everybody test out this worldview that I have, so I'm not saying I want non-believers to grow and increase. No. I hope that I come across as a person who's not, what's the term my uncle used? Proselytizing. I guess there's the negative connotation. Like proselytizing, I don't know. Some words have pejorative. There's a helicopter. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, we're within the last minute. All right. Well, I'm going to drop that there. That was some babbling. I don't know where it was going, but this is the end of week 8, and this is going to continue. I am in full disclosure. I am realizing that as much as I enjoy this task of my daily walk, it's also a burden, and it's a burden that I welcome. It fortunately is only half an hour a day plus whatever few minutes I spend uploading it and sending and titling, etc. But I'm not always in the mood to do it. But I got to do it every day. And this is a new day. My Daily Walk.